The road to Red Bull Wololo continues with Baltune and Numudan. It's going to be some fun games. We're going to go right back to King of the Hill, though, and right back with a Rus game. Another Macedonian's getting banned, and this time Sengoku getting banned on the other way. But so it'll be Rus versus Ayyubids.
And you can see the Macedonians giving us a very clear signal of what is not allowed in this tournament, actually, which I'm really happy about, because this is starting to give me some ideas that players are knowing things that the rest of us don't know yet. So Macedonians have been looking pretty strong, and these players are saying, we do not want to handle that. So let's go in and see how Baltune places his hunting cabins. Also three. I'm making my mental notes here. Baltune in red, just getting a solid amount of hunting cabins in here, ensuring that the gold is never to be touched yet again.
Well, last time we saw that the hill did not matter as much as the corners. We'll see how this one fares, though. Numudan in the green with Ayyubids, as we said. Baltune down here in the red. You know, Rus looks really good in red. I just want to point that out. Just a nice color for this. I'm curious how Baltune's going to go about this. Last time we saw a lot of early knights from the player playing Rus, and Valdemar didn't do much with that. Let's see how Baltune plays it. And on the other hand, we got Numudan. Those villagers already on the berries, so I would expect a seasoned Ayyubids player would not go for the eco wing here. I would expect it's probably going to be the dervish wing or possibly the desert raiders. I expect the dervishes, though.
Yeah, we've been seeing a lot of desert raiders out here on this map too, but not in Feudal. You want to get your dervishes out in Feudal. With that, you're already just putting yourself so much further ahead in terms of being able to respond to any feudal aggression, being able to do a little bit of feudal aggression yourself, but you're up against Rus, right? And Rus does have that ability to just kind of stay under their TC and go fast castle. So they do usually go for a little bit of wood, but at the same time, you have a nice little defense there for them already. Look at logistics coming in. Yep. It makes a lot of sense. You want that ability in the feudal age to just be able to adjust to anything your opponent brings. So makes a lot of sense. Now, what I want to point out between these two, and I think this is a big discussion for us to be had, is Numudan is known as a bit more of a passive player, but sometimes when he needs to, he's absolutely dominating. Baltune, on the other hand, last week, he pulled out some scary stuff, and Baltune all of a sudden becomes a little bit of a dark horse. Baltune has always been pretty solid, but not at this huge of a level that we're seeing from him over the last week. So I'm really excited to see what Baltune is going to pull out here.
Yeah, luckily for Numudan, he's got that back gold, so it should be pretty safe, and he could easily wall that in if he so needed. Golden Gate, no surprises there from Baltune. That's been the standard for quite some time. Gone are the days of going for the gremlins. But I really like this choice of logistics wing from Numudan. I think in this scenario, in this matchup, I think it's the best option, honestly. And you kind of alluded to it, I think, Whammon. You mentioned that it's very versatile. You can do a lot with this. You can get aggressive with logistic wing, or you can sit back and be a little more passive and use it as more of a defensive option. And then in Castle Age, you've already got your units you need to go grab those relics and the healing that it can provide. Again, I say this probably ad nauseum on this cast and on this stream when I come and talk about logistics wing. The dervishes, the benefit you get in that wing, the sky's the limit. You know, the floor, you could lose them and then it'd be no gain whatsoever. But as far as the value you can receive from those two units, the sky's the limit. You can get infinite value out of them if you wanted. So I like the choice here. And I like the choice from Baltune to go for some professional scouts. He's going to be grabbing the deer and bringing them home, get an extra boost in food. And he could get pretty scary pretty quick with that if he so desired.
Mm-hmm. That is the crazy thing about Rus. When you get the right amount of food, and we saw this the last game, the amount of units there were is insane. But now you have to ask yourselves, is Baltune actually going to make anything in Feudal here? With Numudan going for that stable, we're going to be seeing some action. We're going to see a fast castle, but we're also going to be seeing a little bit of action. And I love this. This is a pretty standard thing that people are doing these days, just making that one little camel to make sure that you don't get to be greedy. Baltune doesn't just get to go on the wood line without investing into that tower. And that's usually the differentiating factor. You get a bonus if you put the tower down. And now you're forcing him to put the tower down, not just for the bonus, but also because you need to defend yourself. So Baltune, he's going to be able to go pro scouts, and he might get a little bit shut down here and there. but at the same time, he also needs to invest on the wood, which is, you know, a little bit of a slowdown if you are just looking for to go up straight away. Now, we do see he knows exactly what's coming in here. With these scouts, they are picking up what they can, close deer pack, and a barracks being forced out, and that is key too. With the camels on the way, he has to invest in the barracks, and now, you know, they do pretty well against a spear or two. That's the great thing about having these dervishes in already.
Yep. Essentially, these 2 desert raiders that are going to be coming out for Numudan, they are, you got to consider it as more than just 2. Like in a fight, there's only 2 of them, but he's essentially going to get more back, right? Every time he loses almost 1 and then heals it all the way back up again, that's like having a fresh, brand new desert raider. The value in resources, you could probably calculate value that way and say that's X amount of resources you're gaining by healing them with these dervishes. And we see right here with the body block to boot, these dervishes being used to the utter max. I love to see this little micro play. Anyone who says there's no micro in this game can just get out of town. There is definitely some micro to be had, and Numudan is flashing a little right here.
That body block was absolutely beautiful, and he's showing us how confidently he can do so. Now he's almost ready to click up castle, which is pretty crazy to think when you're up against the Rus player that you can match this so fast and do it even better, because now Baltune, he's investing into Feudal, a significant amount into Feudal, because he doesn't know when this is going to stop. He doesn't know if it stops at 2 camels, 3 camels. He needs to prepare for the worst, and him now investing in this is going to delay him a little bit and not really going to put him in a position to deal with those camel lancers when they do arrive. So this is a pretty scary one for Baltune if Numudan just goes and gets some real damage done. And it feels like he's already doing the damage, stopping this food.
1 more hit or so, 1 more hit. It's so close, and it's down. It's going to go a nice little pickup there. Nothing game-changing, but just the pressure. It really showcasing Numudan knows what he's about. He has a game plan and economic industry wing. We've seen this more and more at this level of play, where they use the wood they get from this just to pop down a bunch of production buildings and then flood the earth with units. And it's a play that I really enjoy seeing. It's fun take on it's a fun new twist on a classic take, right? That's exactly what Ayubids likes to do. They like the tempo, and with the changes to industry wing getting a little better, Nubudan's gonna have all the tempo in the world here.
Now, getting your production buildings out, that's massive. And I'm actually really interested in seeing how this works out compared to going for something like an eco wing, where you would just get more resources out over time and get your castle age to be so much stronger. So actually really interesting for me that industry has been prioritized this much in a lot of these matchups. Oh, but those dervishes, they are healing at the speed of light and actually handling these archers quite well. But they do need to back off, be careful here, and then the production will begin. We do see that bank already increasing significantly. Numudan he's prepping for what's coming, and that is going to be a very heavy castle age push the moment he hits it. Those dervishes, though, now you got to think about this. Where am I going to go to get my value? And you want to get as many relics as possible. The problem is just Baltune has the units to try and stop this.
And what a fun game early off. This is very indicative of this current meta we're in. Those scouts, cavalry, fast pace from the get-go. Lots of fun. We do see Wheelbarrow clicking in as well. He's got the extra wood. He'll be able to do that. And again, these dervishes and Desert Raiders, they're at full health. So these two, which would have died easily to this mass without those dervishes, now it feels as if there's been 3 or 5 or extra ones just running around the map, which is just so good and such a small investment for Numudan. Which is why I'm just sitting here raving about this, because the value is clearly there.
I love seeing all these production buildings coming on up before the industry wing. So yeah, he had the wood ready for this. But now 900 wood in the bank, just like that. Archers being made, archers galore being made, as we see yet another archery range coming down too. And the handful of Camelons is going to be joining this party. Now, Baltune is going to be following it up pretty soon with a very juicy high trade house in the corner yet again. He's now looking around though, looking for a little bit of damage. He knows he's got more units, but he also knows this is just temporary. He's trying to get as many bits of food as he can, because very shortly this is going to mean he's not going to have access to just going around the map, as there will be more units from Numudan.
The nice thing for Baltune here is with that high trade house in the corner, I don't actually know how much I expected to get gold-wise, but having the extra deer, having that extra gold income, Baltune, I think with the deer he has, should be able to weather for a little bit. You see he's clearly building some infrastructure, clearly getting ready for the fight. both players going to enter into Castle Age. I'm kind of excited to see the back and forth that's going to ensue from this, because Numudan has a lot of tempo right now, but that tempo only takes you so far sometimes. So I'm curious how Baltune's going to respond, how he's going to try and maintain control of the top of this hill, and how these fights will pan out. A lot of it's going to come down to the micro. We see one Camel Lancer getting dropped right there by the spears. That's an excellent pickup for Baltune. That's exactly the kind of engagement you want at this point in time as you're just getting into Castle Age.
That is an insane pickup to have at this already. So losing a Camel Lancer like this is already shutting down that momentum immensely. We can see the Archer upgrade coming on in for Numudan as well. This is going to mean he's going to have some nice veteran archers to deal with all the things the Baltune is prepping for him there, which consists of crossbows, which, you know, archers are going to handle those quite well. But there is nothing to handle our men-at-arm composition just yet, and it looks like it's a pretty heavy investment here for Baltune. Those men-at-arms, they suck up so much of the damage that you want to have on top of the crossbows. That might be an answer to your lancers too. So I'm actually really positive about this for Baltune, especially with this composition he's planning out now.
Yeah, having
Relics,
men-at-arms, having the crossbows, he's got a good comp coming in. And yes, you mentioned, right, you took the words right out of my mouth. The relics, Numudan has gotten 2 and 1 in hand. So he's going to have the split of the relics. He's also got the sacred site. And again, this is another thing I love about the dervishes and having that dervish wing in Feudal Age, is you get the ability to grab those really quick and kind of get a leg up on your opponent. Now, it's called King of the Hill for a reason. We saw last game it didn't matter so much, but this game's looking like it will. The deer may go to Baltune, but the top of the hill so far going to Numudan. So we'll see if he can maintain control, because this could very well become a win condition. Obviously, that's 10 minutes down the road. We got some time, but it's always amazing to me how what is a 10-minute timer turns into a 3-minute and a 2-minute timer very quickly.
This is a pretty tough spot for anyone against the Aeobids, because Aeobids, they have this beautiful thing called manganiques, and those, they shoot actual fire, right? And that's the issue here. This is not something that Numudan is unaware of. He knows the power of the Aeobids, especially when they have this level of control in the middle. Now, that relic did get shut down as Baltune tried to drag it home, and the dervish here picking up a sneaky relic as well. Men-at-arms are showing themselves. So this does mean that the camels are aware, and the dervish delivering that relic right to the front of Baltune's base, and it looks like this will be a 3-2 split if Baltune just moves out. Pick it up.
You mentioned
the
manganiques, and I was gonna, again, we're on the same brainwave, and we're both thinking the same thing. I think we both see the game plan for Aeobids here. Siege is the next follow-up. We do see that to start with, Numudan has gone for some Springalds. I do think Manganique will be added on later. I actually like the choice for the Springalds given the men-at-arms that are on the field. I don't hate that choice, and they're a little cheaper. I do want to see Numudan make some Manganique at some point. That'll deal with all those crossbows on the field to play. And again, the fire shots just do so well when you get 4 or more of those Manganiques on the field. They just start overwhelming things.
The problem is Numudan doesn't have a strong front line here, and this could be his downfall. Baltune is the one with all the men-at-arms. He knows what works, especially against Aeobids at this stage of the game. But you need that front line for them not to get on top of the Springalds. The Springalds are going to do great work against them, but they do need to get a few shots off. And Manganique is now in production, and we do see 2, 3, 4 gold per minute.
That's a lot of gold a minute. That's a great trade house. And then we do see the Manganique. So I definitely agree with you there, Wham, 100%. He's missing a front line. If Numudan just had a front line of his own, this would be a perfect comp. As it is, there's just a lot of men-at-arms there for Baltune. 17, it's going to be 19 with those crossbows. That is nothing to sneeze at. There's a lot of siege for Numudan, and I think it's a huge edge, but he needs something that can frontline, and I don't know those Camel Lancers will do enough. They're really powerful, but they're also a little less health than normal knights are, so they can drop a little quicker than you might like compared to, say, like a Royal Knight or something like that. So we'll see how it goes, but the siege, though, can do a good job. It's going to come down to the micro on this one.
Now, the micro is usually a little bit less important if you have a huge army of men-at-arms, but now 5 Springalds start to make that a little bit more complicated. You can't just walk into it that easily, especially when you have a handful of Camel Lancers in the mix too. The towers, though, I don't want to say they are going to be the savior, but I think they're going to be the savior here with this.
Nope, go ahead. You're saying exactly what I'm thinking.
Now, those towers are just so powerful for the Spring Elves to be able to fall back on. They will make sure that the pathing is just not that optimized. They will create those choke points that the Spring Elves absolutely love. And this is what Numudan is playing with. He's ensuring that he uses every part of his civilization. Baltune, though, I'm wondering if this army mass that he's creating, what is he going to be doing with this? Right now, it doesn't feel like he's anywhere on the map, except in his base. He has a handful of horses, not revealing themselves just yet. And this is probably one of the smartest switches he could make, because he's going to need the mobility to actually deal with the siege on the back line. Right now, like you said, his army is just going to get destroyed by the Manganiques, especially the crossbows. But with horses, he might find an answer.
Yeah, he's got to be mindful of the camel unease. That's obviously going to negate 20% of the damage, but he could pull a trap card with that for sure. He's moving out now, and as I was saying, and as you mentioned just a moment ago, a little bit idle there with that military, and of course, idle military is idle resources, but now posturing just in range of those towers. If we get some emplacements on those towers, it's going to be really nasty. As it is, I don't know that those towers have any emplacements at this moment. I don't think they do. I could be. Nope, they do. Okay. I wasn't too sure. I didn't see it. But yes, got Springolds in place. And here comes the fight on top of the sacred site we go. We got a short wall coming in as well. Springolds just having the way. And there's the Manganique shots on the back line. A couple more of those could really prove catastrophic. The front line, can it hold for Numudan? Can it hold? The firing of the Manganiques continues. Losing a lot of crossbows. The front line starting to disintegrate, and this is where it gets tricky for Numudan. Can he just hold a little longer? The men-at-arms are just so many, and he's backing off. I don't know that there's enough front line for it. The Manganique doing a lot of damage to the crossbows, but the front line is still there, and the sacred site is decapped, and everything is gone for Numudan. It was the front line. It was so close. Those men-at-arms have so much health.
And that is the beauty of having an army of men-at-arms. Even with the Springolds, you want to create the choke point, but that mobility of the horses to get on top of you, that's where things start to falter. Now, economically, you would say, oh, he's still got this. But the problem is there's no food for the man. Poor Numudan is the one who's a hungry, hungry boy, and he's going to need to run out of this base too. With that wall not going to be living forever. And you can see those villagers are going to be sitting ducks. Baltune now, he makes more crossbows, and he's ready to move on out. Those towers in the middle, they're going to be annoying, but he knows, I just need to last. I will find my damage elsewhere. All those villagers paying the price for Numudan's, I would say, greed in not investing in that front line. It feels like we're watching a game from last week as well, where Aeobids had control of the middle, but with the right amount of push, they can be defeated, and Baltune takes our first victory of the series.
That's a good loss, I think, for Baltune. Like, for Numudan. That's a good one to lose. Like, it came down to a one fight. It was quick. It was only 18 minutes. You didn't like grind yourself for 50 minutes just to lose a game, right? It's kind of quick. It's the first one. You can kind of just set it aside. It just came down to you didn't have enough front line. You can reset and move on. Because otherwise, I liked what both those players did. I really liked both of those game plans quite a bit. I think Baltune had a really good job with the pro scouts. I really like what Numudan did, addressing the pro scouts and going into castle, taking the top. It just came down to win the fight. And for Baltune, he won the fight. I think I agree with you. A little more frontline for Numudan would have been the difference, because if he could have just dealt with the horses, and again, those horsemen as kind of a surprise, kind of keeping them a little tucked away, and then surprising them and getting onto the siege. Excellent play from Baltune. An excellent game, and we move on to Holy Island, our first water map of the day. Coming on up, we've got House of Lancaster going against the Holy Roman Empire. This should be a fun one.
And this is something that I was very surprised to see in this draft, because in our previous draft, we saw no water. Here, we see a lot more blue in this draft, and I'm really happy to see some of that, because, of course, Holy Island is one of those maps where players, it's a whole different set of skills they need to practice, and that's why this is such an important one to be able to do. Numudan, him picking Holy Island here, is telling us a very apparent story of a man who has practiced the water more than enough. Baltune, though, he's not too shy about water himself, and with the House of Lancaster, he is not going to have a problem whatsoever. Numudan, Baltune, both of them opening up with a dock, very standard here in the Dark Age, and let's see which civilization reigns supreme.
Baltune, this House Lancaster in the red up here. Already got that dock going on. HRE for Numudan down here also has a dock, so water is on the menu. Hope you guys like some fish and chips.
Is that do you guys have fish and chips in America?
Oh, we do. Yeah, we do.
Okay.
We have like everything here. Yeah. Don't eat it inside. Don't eat it anywhere that's not on the coast, though. Only on the coastal states should you be eating fish. If you're like in Vegas or if you're in like Kansas, don't eat fish in Kansas. That's not good.
Now, you have to keep in mind, both of these guys are Swedish. So is this the matchup we've been waiting for? The Swedes against one another. They are known for their fishy cuisine. So this is definitely not something that they are unprepared for. They know their water maps, but also IRL. So we'll see how much they invest into the early game. Because, of course, you have to think about the strengths of these civilizations going into Feudal. So Baltune, playing House of Lancaster, if he goes for your standard all Lord play, that is, ooh, look at that villager just snacking on that sheep, disrespectful. But if he goes for something like that, you already have a military unit on the field. Whereas with HRE, you're the one who needs to kind of react to this. You're not the civilization that can just sit back and be like, hey, I see your lord, I'm just not going to respond to it. He needs to invest on land. You do not. And that gives Baltune a little bit of an advantage when it comes to getting that water lead a little bit earlier on.
I find it funny, you're giving us this wonderful analysis and he's doubling down on the water. So Numudan adding that second dock and in just stark view of that scout, just right in front of him, after stabbing him with his little shiv, the villager building the second one, and look at all those sheep. That's one thing I love about this map, just so many places to find food. That villager now with 2 docks on, Numudan should be able to scale his water very quickly if he so desires. But we'll see what's to be happening. Again, this game could be one on the water, but it could also be one on the land if you get the good timing on it. And with House Lancaster, that's, like we've been saying, definitely possible. You see Numudan moving onto the gold, though, looking to age up soon. Both players now with their water established, moving on to that.
Now, what's interesting to me is the spawn, because the last few times I've watched Holy Island, I do see the wall, what is that thing? The wood line spawning there in the middle as well, at least a little bit. But these guys, gold is very, very far out. And I mean, when we look at the placement of these golds, Lords of Lancaster, they will not mind paying a little visit to anyone. That's the beauty of the Abbey of Kings. When you go for the Abbey of Kings, you have units that you can make with gold and food. And when you're playing water, and getting a little bit later into the water, you are already gathering gold for demos. If you get ahead on water, it's a very easy switch into making more lords. So Numudan, he may have gone for that 3rd dock now. He still needs to go for something on land too. He cannot just sit back and be like, hey, I've got 3 docks. We're good. I see, is that 3 yellow dots or is it only 2? Because a 3rd dock would be pretty wild. Okay, no. We're only got 2.
Just 2. A third would have been very wild and very, very overdone, I think. But just 1 for now.
Now, with all of these fishing boats, I love to see this. The fact that we don't have a deep sea fish next to that pond, it just feels like Baltune knows exactly that it's going to need a little bit of time to really pay off. Goes for the shoreline fish. And makes a lot of sense. But on the other hand, Numudan, his fish is a little bit closer into his dock as well. So he's got that spawn in his pocket already. But the Arcane Chapel is coming up with 7, which means he wants this thing up quickly. The Arcane Chapel, getting it up quickly makes a lot of sense. You want to get as much of that eco bonus as you can, as fast as you can. Because this is going to be life or death on the water. The more wood, the better right now. And Baltune, he's got his king in queue. And another one in queue as well. Oh, never mind. He cancels it. I was going to say that is...
He does also have some military coming up on the water as well. So he's going to be looking to press on both land and sea. And a second dock coming up as well. So Baltune, now that he's up in age, looking to exert himself a little bit more on the map, coming right up in just a moment or two. And beating your opponent to the water naval fight can be pretty big. I'm curious what choices Numudan will make in that regard, because you don't want to just give up. You can't just afford to give up the water. You got to build something. Unfortunately, he just now is up in age, a little slower than Baltune was. Maybe that's because he built that second dock, slowing him down a bit. We do see a barracks coming out as well. And it's interesting because both of these civs can build heavy units, and we see the men-at-arms coming out as well for Numudan and a ship of his own. And a 3rd dock coming up now for Baltune. It does go up. The scout does see it. So now it's 3 docks to 2.
The problem is there's 2 lords to 0. I know 2 men-at-arms are coming out too, but these lords are forcing that reaction that I talked about, and this is so good for Baltune in this case, because now Baltune, he's sitting there on the water, he's like, okay, I've got the ships, I'm the one landing first, so you need to respond to me. And the moment you get to attract your opponent's attention, this is where things get out of control. So both of these guys, now they have an answer on land, which you need to be fully aware of at all times. The Lord coming all the way in, getting a little bit of a punishment on a villager or 2, but you have to keep in mind he's got the prelate there. He should be able to handle this pretty easily, but the idle time is insane. 10 idle villagers in that moment feels so worth it. Prelate will be able to heal up what he can, but you can see this Lord definitely got the idle time he needed to be a little bit sneaky there on the water. Let's go see how this water fight has developed. Pretty
This is
even
the tricky
still.
thing about this map. This is why this map is just... water maps like this, I feel like, are just so much more difficult to play than land maps, just because you got to split your attention again and again. And it's just always divided on the what's going on one side of the map, what's going on the other. You're just ping-ponging back and forth. And I feel like on water... of all the places where micro matters a lot, water is one of those spots where if you look away for a split second, you can lose a lot. So you got to be very, very mindful. The Lord Lancaster getting some, definitely getting some good idle time there. The question is, was it enough? I definitely felt like it was pretty good, but was it enough to merit losing the Lord Lancaster while the 2 men-at-arms basically didn't even get scratched?
And now those 2 became 4. And that's where the problem begins. Because, sure, you've got your Lords of Lancaster, but men-at-arms, even in Feudal, they do hit quite differently when they arrive in the base, especially when you're trying to win that water fight too, and your attention gets split. Baltune's floating quite a bit of wood here, just going for springald chips and more springald chips. While on Numudan's side, he's going for demos instead. And I am so excited to see that interaction. We do see some water movement right now. And this is just Numudan getting his way a little bit closer to those ships. His demo is sitting right behind him there. He does need to be careful though, because eventually those springalds are going to snipe anything and everything.
Like I said, you look away for a split second and then you lose your ship. Look away again, you lose another ship. Oh no! And that could have just sailed right into him too and maybe done some great damage. And this is the tricky thing with water, even at this high level. You just got to be so on top of it that it's not uncommon to see even the best of the best lose a ship or 2 because of just looking away, because there's other things you have to be micromanaging as well. We see that on display here.
Now, Baltune is also investing in demo ships himself. He sees this commitment into springalds-ish from Numudan. But you have to keep in mind, Numudan is not producing on water anymore. If you guys look at that production queue, he's actually decided to go castle. He's got the men-at-arm numbers, and he says, hey, you may have the water, more or less. I'm going to go on land and take this game. So Numudan now, he's actually played some pretty insane games with losing water anyway, but Baltune recognizes this. He's like, hey, you are not investing a lot here. I probably need to do more damage. But the demos, they were completely inactive here. We do see some yellow dots on the gold now, and the men-at-arms, they're starting to get a little bit scary here.
You gotta be mindful of TC. No blacksmith upgrades yet, and Numudan recognizing that, clicking up his iron undermesh as I say that. Definitely going to want that if he's going to start pressing in. I'm curious what he goes for. Do you go for the Burgrave here? It is the Burgrave. Okay, I was going to say, like, that would be the play, right? Like, just spam men-at-arms. End this game now before things get out of hand. You're clearly losing water. This is your kind of go-for-broke option. If you can land the strike fast enough and hard enough, you can win it. It's kind of a come from behind. We see all these resources invested in water. Is this going to be an overinvestment now? Because if Numudan can time this right and get those guys flooding in, it'll be pretty dangerous. The question is, though, does he have enough food? Does he have enough gold to sustain a continued men-at-arm production?
And it's interesting, Baltune is getting another ship here, even though he's just won the water completely. And every bit of ship counts now, because every time you stop producing anything on land, things get a little hairy. The men-at-arm, though, losing a little bit of focus. He does pull back now. Burgrave is completed, but he doesn't have a lot of food in the bank with the ship being shut down. This is still a pretty tough spot. Baltune now, he's got a little bit of breathing room for a second before that Burgrave starts pumping. Men-at-arms getting their upgrades, and we know HRE men-at-arms, they don't mind a good armored unit. They're going to go right through it if given the chance. Now, Numudan only got 5 men-at-arms here. He needs to find a way to get more food.
Yeah, I was just going to say the same thing. I was like, there's just not a lot of food coming in. You just lost all of your food eco from the water. What's the recourse? What's your follow-up? He needs to get on a boar. He needs to get on some deer. He needs food because otherwise this Burgrave is great. You can print as much as you want, but if you don't have ink and paper, you're not printing anything. And that's going to be the case with these men-at-arms. He needs the food. He needs the gold. And having some lords on your deer does not help with that at all. Lots of villagers now idling. This is huge for Baltune. If he can do this enough times, he can slow this down and then possibly just outlast Numudan in this Burgrave rush. However, on the flip side, some men-at-arms now upgraded, now with their tier 2 blacksmith upgrade for range defense coming in. They should be able to stand and fight under the town center for days.
Now, that is going to be a pretty fast rushed white tower. I'm very sure Baltune stopped making villages there for a moment as he's just fully focused on this men-at-arm rush in his base. These guys are just doing the work. We do see he does have the resources for it now. Where does he put it? He puts it right there on the gold. So right now, Baltune trying to get a little bit of breathing room here, making sure that the men-at-arms are occupied, but his eco is idle. And the thing is, it's just a portion of his eco, because right now he's got the water. Slowly but surely, he's going to be able to expand and get as many fishing ships as he needs. But these men-at-arms, they are causing all the idle time, but is this going to be enough for Numudan to just get back into this? The white tower does get spotted. Men-at-arms will be doing quite a bit of damage here, but it will go up eventually.
Yeah, the question is, can he do enough with 16 men-at-arms, none in, okay, a couple more in queue. I think he's just getting bottlenecked by how many resources he has to spill these out, and there was just enough time for Baltune to kind of keep going. If Baltune can just stabilize, now it's a matter of, okay, I've matched the castle, I've got pretty much infinite food from water now, I own a third of the map in that regard. Can I stabilize land? Can I not get overwhelmed? Because when you get 15 men-at-arms grouped up together and you don't have any castle age units just yet, it could be kind of dangerous. Baltune just needs to stabilize, and we see Numudan just kind of going for the kill, just trying to torch down the town center.
This is pretty wild.
That down would be nice,
just
but
see.
He needs to. Yeah, this is good, but I wonder if this is the right choice. I mean, what else can he do with these guys is the question. You can't go underneath the white tower. He's got 21 men-at-arms now. I mean, outside of the white tower, does Baltune have any other production buildings is kind of the question.
Now, keep in mind, this is not an English white tower. This is a House of Lancaster white tower. This thing does not produce. It is actually just there to look very, very nice. Yeah. So this white tower is just standing there protecting the villagers. And now the TC going down is massive. This just means Baltune is not going to be making any more villages anytime soon. And Lord of Lancaster, more in queue. The thing is just 25 of these men-at-arms, they are going to start doing work. But Numudan now slowly starting to suck up those relics with now 3 prelates out here on the map already. He is hoping to get as much back as he can because he knows this water loss was significant. Just see if it was significant enough.
Numudan's going to have an answer for the crossbows coming out. There's only a handful right now, so not too much of a worry, but maybe a couple horsemen, maybe something, or at least find a way to snipe them away before they get en masse. If Baltune gets too many of these things, these men-at-arms are going to have a rough go. That said, a blow has definitely been dealt by Numudan. He needs to keep the pressure up. He's got his trebuchet now in the queue as well. So he's got an answer for that white tower at least. Can he make this work? Again, he has no water whatsoever. Can't even get the relics on the edge of the coast because of the fleet that Baltune has.
That's pretty wild to see because Baltune, with this, he's securing 2 relics that Numudan just can never touch. So 2 relics, but the one is in the water, of course, and the one is behind his base. Eventually, that ship might not have all that control on the water, but there's still one on the map for Numudan to snack on. So Numudan will get his 3 relics he needs, but it is not the same HRE as we are used to seeing. And now, Baltune is the one making crossbows, slowly but surely, and Numudan is still just doubling down on the men-at-arms, not transitioning into anything else just yet.
Yeah, he needs something. That's what I was worried about. Once those get in mass, like 1 or 2 is not a big deal, but once you get a critical mass where they start one-shotting your men-at-arms or even 2-shotting them, especially if you're getting kited like this, it can be kind of dangerous. Maybe a couple horsemen. He's got a mangonel as his answer. Okay, so he's got an answer in mind. He's going to get the mangonel out. He's going for the siege option. I actually like this because it's right here. It's going to pop right out. He needs to make sure he can defend it when it comes out. If it pops out in an inopportune spot, that could be kind of dangerous. He needs to queue it out maybe on the southwest side there. There it is. Perfectly played. And in comes the shot. Missing the first shot, but the damage is incoming, essentially. He just needs to make sure he stays on top of it. Good micro from Baltune, keeping it alive. These men-at-arms are just getting taken down. No shots in the mangonel have landed yet. Finally gets a shot in, but none go down. This is tricky. I've only had a couple horsemen or something, because he can't really close the gap with all the kiting that well.
Oh, and this mangonel is now going to get closed in on, and that's just the issue with mangonels. The moment you get on top of them, they can't do anything. Oof, we can quickly see the men-at-arms trying to do work, and Lords of Lancaster don't manage to break it down just yet, but you have to keep in mind, food is a limited resource here for Numudan. He's not just sitting back and letting the eco do the talking. Baltune is the one just investing into more fishing ships, and he's going to be able to get control of his base back pretty quickly now. Slowly but surely, these units are just going to be the ones that are dominating. Even though most of the military is out there on water, he's still got the power here. Now, I am a little bit concerned here with the horsemen only coming in now, and the food per minute looking pretty scarce here for Numudan.
Yeah, it feels kind of like a day late, dollar short. Just not. It's like he's reacting with some good reactions, but they're just a little too slow. Losing a mangonel there is huge. Almost out of men-at-arms. I mean, he's got 17, but a lot of them are weak. Not feeling great. Your trebuchet is just sitting out there forgotten. At this point, Baltune needed to stabilize, is what I was saying, and we're seeing that he has done exactly that. Now that he's stabilizing, now he can let his food eco start going. If he wanted to, he could go into some trade ships even and get some gold, really pumping that way. And with this critical mass of crossbows, as long as he keeps the mangonels in check, as long as he makes sure that he doesn't get wrapped around by a bunch of horsemen, Baltune's back in the driver's seat again. He has contained the flood, as it were, of men-at-arms, and is, feeling pretty stable.
Now, this is the crazy part. He doesn't have any emplacement on his towers. So all those units that are standing under there, they get to stand there for free without a care in the world. And we saw a huge clump of villagers down here. So there's a little ball of men-at-arms just trying to run around and cause some havoc. But those men-at-arms, they are just not doing enough work. Numudan needs to find a way to make sure his base is at least safe, because this army from Baltune is massive. And this is starting to show us that side of Baltune I talked about at the start. Baltune is in a mood for killing and winning. And that's exactly what he's hoping to do here. He wants that 2-0, and after winning the water, he feels pretty confident about doing so. Again, just more and more crossbows. The horseman numbers, they are going to handle it eventually. I just don't know if Numudan has the time to get to that eventually.
Yeah, and it's a really heavy food investment, right? You're pumping so much food into those that you would rather be pumping into men-at-arms, but you just simply cannot with those crossbows out. And even 10 horsemen, like, against some of these the lords out there, 10 starts feeling like a better choice, but you're still going to lose a lot of them with just the amount of mass, the sheer mass that those crossbows do, and the high damage they deal out as a base. It's looking rough for Numudan. And again, the eco is clearly in favor of Baltune. Now, he hasn't made any villagers in a long time, but he's got the fishing, and he's got as much fishing as he needs, essentially. So he's in this game for the indefinite future, it seems. And Numudan getting those horsemen out in play, trying to take care of the numbers. The question is, can he do enough?
Now, you have to ask that, but at the same time, he just revealed his strategy. He just revealed the fact that he has fully transitioned into horses. And this now puts you in a spot where you're like, hey, I'm just going to make units that handle horses. And in his case, he says knights are the way to go. He just needs a little bit of a front line to handle anything that dares step on top of those crossbows. So the horses running around, causing a little bit of havoc here. We see Numudan also getting some tower emplacements himself. He wants to make sure that some resources are at least safe. And already, that is a pretty safe shot to get on a crossbow. This army is not really prepared for those tower shots just yet. Now, Numudan, slowly but surely, just getting a little bit of map control here. He knows he needs the stone to be able to capture at least a big gold there at the top. He's never going to look at water the same way again.
Numudan is going to be looking pretty strong here for the next couple minutes. He's got a decent mass of horsemen. He can easily deal with those crossbows now. He's got the boar. My concern here, long game for Numudan, is the food. He's got a lot of access to food right now on land. That will dry up. And if he doesn't have farms coming in to replace that, he's going to fall very far behind. Baltune does have all the water. And again, that's just so huge. Even though he lost his town center and has fallen behind in the villager numbers, having the water really secures a breathing room where you don't need to be producing from your TC consistently when you have that much water eco still there. You were so far ahead, you can take that hit. That said, this game is dragging on a little longer than I think I would have initially thought after Numudan lost water and went for this play. Feels like he's trying to stabilize the back end as well. It was looking really dire there. We can see just a lot of food invested in these horsemen. Army value of 6,000 for Numudan. The problem is, on the other side, Baltune's got quite a bit as well. Now, remember, a good chunk of that is in the Navy.
There's a bit of breathing room for Numudan. Oh, there's an opportunity at least. There's an opportunity for Numudan to do significant damage here on the land. And this could win him the game. This is the crazy part. With the amount of horses he has, there's a chance here. But Baltune is slowly investing into those spears. I'm just wondering if it's not going to be too late. Because Numudan, he has a timing here. And those horses, they're looking for blood. We can now see that that TC looks to be almost repaired as he has spent a lot of wood doing so. Yes, it's getting closer. Now, that's the difficult part. You don't want to invest your villagers to go to the TC and get destroyed. But at the same time, you also don't want the TC to just constantly be idle. So eventually, this TC will be repaired. But there is still a looming threat of 1 million horsemen running around. Now that trebuchet, it is doing some work here. The horsemen, they're looking for some stray villagers who dare repair a TC. And the TC is not repaired yet. They're just going to torch it down. This just means he's going to spend more villagers and more time trying to keep this thing alive.
One thing Baltune has going for him, again, we mentioned the food on water. It looks like, I'm looking at the mini-map, he is on trade. He is water trading, and I love to see that so frequently. I have seen even top players forget about trade on water, and here Baltune has not forgotten, and it is all to his advantage to do that. Getting some wood and getting gold for each trade ship that makes that trip, that is huge, and that will win him the game. That could be a win condition right there of just sheer economy. So as long as he can, again, keep this going, and Numudan's done a decent job, dare I say, of stabilizing and keeping up some pressure and being in this game, even when usually the old adage is lose water, lose the game. Numudan's been trying to be the exception to that rule here and has been doing a decent job even after his initial burger rush didn't quite pan out the way he wanted. We see him now moving up with a forward keep being in the plan. I like this. I like this idea of creeping in, and he's got enough siege, dare I say. He could start taking down some serious infrastructure for Baltune, and that could make things very scary.
TC feels like it's never bound to be repaired at this point. Oh, those trebuchets.
That's
3 trebuchets just make it so difficult to actually be able to catch up. But just look at this. This keep has control of the wood line that he was so dependent on for a while. He has moved back there to his base, but the further away he moves from the White Tower, the happier those horses are going to be. The TC is back online, but now the horses are fully aware and they might be thinking about a raid elsewhere. You do see the spearmen numbers. They are climbing and they're getting pretty dangerous. But Numudan, he's still got that weird little bit of an opening here that he could actually make this work.
Yeah, I think he definitely has a window. That's a lot of crossbows. It's the siege behind this. He's really done a good job of making his land presence and building a good composition here. The food will run out eventually. And again, this is, again, a window. Numudan doesn't have an open opportunity indefinitely here. Baltune will have that trade eco take him in the lead. But for now, on land, this is a scary threat Numudan is presenting. And with a keep there to fall back on, Baltune's kind of struggling for some answers. He's invested so much into this trade, invested so much into the infrastructure he needs to build land production. He's waiting for the payoff still. So, like you said, this is kind of a weird window. It's not how you see these games play too terribly often, but Numudan really keeping himself in this, and dare I say, threatening for a victory here if he can just pull it off. One landmark going down.
He's got one more to go.
He just needs to take out the White Tower. Or no, the White Tower's gone, so he just needs the TC. Yeah. The trebuchets can just win it for him here.
Oh, this is the crazy part. Baltune behind this looks like he wants to go Imperial, but at the same time, it just forced him not to make units the whole time. So now, this man is clicking it up. Wingard Palace has been chosen, but it's only being built with 17. I say only, but 17 is so so little when you need this to
think
go
Numudan's
up
gonna-
in seconds.
I don't think it's not going to be in time. No, it's not going to be in time. Numudan could just force the issue here. This is going to be down to the... Oh, he could just commit to that, I think, and almost win it. This is down to the wire. If that TC falls, it's all over. He's right there. I would just A-click it. You could just finish it. Just finish it, Numudan. It's right there. Oh my goodness. He's not going to get it in time now, I don't think, unless that Windguard Palace is going up really quickly with 17. Maybe it will. He's going to beat it in just seconds. And that will be the game. Realizing he could do it, he finishes it out in dramatic fashion, seconds away from Baltune surviving a little longer, and Numudan loses water but wins the game.
That army is in shambles right now, thinking about how they failed their kingdom by not engaging. Baltune needed to invest just that whole army into trying to stop this, but at the same time, it feels like that push of Numudan was just going to slowly creep forward. If he lost the army, he would have lost the game anyway. So it does feel a little bit rough, but Numudan, he showed us how to bring it back, even when you lose the war, by just idling out most of the economy. Oof, those proud Swedish flags. Disgusting.
What a game. Man, that one was down to the wire. And what a strange window to find yourself. What a great play from Numudan. I wasn't sure he was going to win that one after the initial spam of men-at-arms kind of failed him there, and Baltune looked stable and was looking dangerous there. Numudan just bringing it back though, staying aggressive at the right times, building the right amount of siege. Those trebs for the win. What a play! What a play! But
and
reset.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Baltune is definitely in a spot now where he's like, okay, I was supposed to win that. I just won the water. How do I do this again? And now Baltune is the one doing some early game shenanigans. Going for that early spearman is just plain old Japanese. We know exactly how this thing plays out, but let's see how much he invests into this Dark Age.
Japanese versus Chinese. Red and green. Baltune and Numudan. Tied up at 1 game apiece, man. And you know, Numudan looked so good in that first game up until that fight that lost it there for him. That was very good. That was well done.
Now that first spear, where is he going to land? We just see the scout is running there past at the back. So the spear not going to the gold just yet. He's got a pretty nice spawn there with the gold all the way as far as possible. So this means that Baltune might not be getting that early game damage that he so desperately wanted to just put Numudan a little bit behind. Now, getting the spear there anyway is so critical because, of course, it's not about stopping the Feudal Age. It's about stopping him from getting ahead and kind of doing the plays that he wanted to do. So with Numudan, this could have been something like Pro Scouts. If we take a look at the deer on the side, double deer on the one side, just means that those spears are actually going to shut this down for quite a while. So even just those 2 spears, the single investment on that is definitely going to slow down Numudan from pulling out any shenanigans that he may have planned.
Yeah, and slowing down Pro Scouts can really pay off. I mean, it seems... Sometimes it can seem kind of counterintuitive, right? Because if they end up with the deer anyway, is it worth it to slow them down? And the answer is, if you kill a couple scouts along the way, yeah, you're slowing it down, you're slowing that ramp up, you're making them invest even more into it, you're fighting for it. And yeah, these spears can easily pay for themselves here. And I like that he's not, you can't overinvest in it. Just 2 is all you need. And we see already off the gold, forcing him away. But of course, Numudan going to be able to have enough gold to go up. It will be Imperial Academy coming right up. But I like the choice too that Baltune went to go onto the berries, because obviously they get the bonus to that with their it's not wheelbarrow, it's is it Tawada, is that right? Or is it Takazaiku? I always forget the names. I think it's Tawada.
Tawada. So Tawada, getting that already feels great. Takazaiku is the next level 1 as well, but we can see with the amount of villages that he has there on gold, this is just your standard of the mill Japanese, if he doesn't age up with those. It is just your standard-of-the-mill Japanese fast castle, and that's what the spearman allows you to do. And this is wild. This is crazy to have, because when you get your opponent to be just that little bit slower, they're not going to be able to punish you for anything. So only 1 aging up with the Gura storehouse. That tells us instantly this man is going fast castle. So the moment he gets that age up with that one villager, he's going to be ready to click up castle. And that's when things spiral out of control here. Baltune knows this. Numudan must be very aware of this. And I would love to see what Numudan decides to do because of that. Because that's a lot of food per minute, and it doesn't feel like we have anything else coming in just yet. But it does look like he's going to go for the wood and get some production on the way. But is he going to be able to do any damage?
It's such a fun play, right? The one, usually you see China is usually the one that gets away with this, where they just do one villager on the age up because of the increased building production speed. But for Kura Storehouse with one for Japanese, it just feels, it's such a fun play. And then when you follow up with that quick castle after, I like seeing builds that feel different, right? Because oftentimes you age up with 4, it's some very standard things that most civs do. Always fun to see something that plays a bit different. And I love this right here. One spear, scattering the deer a little bit, standing his ground, making it difficult, knowing that Pro Scouts is most likely on the menu when you're playing against Chinese, and the anticipation for that, getting some damage on the forward spear that did some damage to the mining camp, and then moving back and just doing that. It's just well played, and it's a good build here from Baltune. It really is.
Now, Baltune getting that wood up and going just for the stable is going to be so critical here because, of course, you want to get that mounted samurai out as fast as you can. Numudan is aware of this, though. He says, my answer to this needs to be very clearly just making spears. He gets quite a few villagers now out there on the gold, too, which is telling me that we might be getting ourselves one of those nice little fast castle Chinese players as well. And honestly, mounted samurai against lancers, I'm ready to watch it happen. Now, funnily enough, Japan hasn't been let through in quite a while. A lot of these players are just saying, no, Japan, we're going to ban it. And if you get it through, we're just going to snipe it every single time. So, but Baltune getting the Japanese here, he's getting one of the strongest civilizations in the game. And Numudan, he has to be ready for that. Barbican of the Sun now coming in. Song Dynasty, actually. So China not going for a fast castle, but rather for the Song. And I don't think we've seen a Song Dynasty until late game. For a very long time.
I wonder if he's thinking of just the defensive capabilities of the Barbican to put on the gold. Because you're right, we don't see these Song Dynasty. I mean, used to be back in my day, used to be all the rage. But we just don't see it anymore, right? We're in a different age of Empires, different times. But man, if I'm Numudan, that castle age, not matching that quickly makes me nervous. Because Baltune's going to be spamming those mounted samurai, and those units are arguably, I mean, they're just one of the best units in the game. And defending that's going to be no easy challenge. I guess maybe the thought process being, if you can't match the timing, maybe a Barbican in the Sun, again, defends that gold, gives you some time and space to get and match that castle timing. Because right as it is right now, there's no look to Pro Scouts.
Now, getting to that castle age is about to hit there for Baltune. He's about to click this up the moment the food comes on in. But that's where I'm a little bit concerned here for the poor man. He's not going to make a lot of units before this starts running out. Now, his spears, they are good enough to keep this at bay. And you can see this forces Numudan to just stay in his base and not be able to push on out. Floating gate is being clicked up now. But how much food does he actually have to make this go all the way? Baltune trying to keep these spears as busy as he can. The scouts just not able to pick up anything just yet, but they will get their opening right now. So, Baltune, he gets to go on the deer pack there at the back. He should be able to have that control because he's got the army of Numudan all the way on the other side of the map. So, there should be a fallback plan for him, and as the floating gate comes up, we see more farms spawning around that first landmark he placed down, ensuring that, hey, the Kura storehouse provides us with the sustenance we need. And I love this from Baltune. Still just being on the aggressive, killing all the deer he can, making sure that this does not become a problem later, where you can just fog of war, click the deer to your base.
We see Pro Scouts. It was delayed a little bit, but now it's in, getting those deer in. So a continual source of food for the next couple minutes for Chinese. Numudan will be happy about that. Loading gate completed. And so now Baltune's in the castle age. Now it's on him to do something with it. Obviously, we expect to see some mounted samurai popping out very shortly, although that is...
wrong. We are both wrong.
What we're looking at. We're looking at an archery range.
Mm-hmm. And this feels pretty... Yes, this feels pretty well, but we have seen something like this come out before. So there's a little sneaky play that some people like to do with the Onimusha, but also then you have the option with the Yumi as well. The Onimusha give you that little bit of mobility that you would need against an army that's a majority spears. But at the same time, Yumi are so cheap, and now they will be produced fast AF. They're not expensive. We can see with the food situation he's got going, he definitely cannot afford anything expensive. So it does feel like a smart move here. But I'm surprised not to see the archery range being placed a little bit earlier. Now going for a few relics himself so that he can ensure that this Castle Age timing that he had pays off quickly.
That's going to be kind of a Zerg rush play, I suppose, then. Or just, I mean, because again, Yumi Yashigaru, they're cheap. They do one less damage than normal archers, but you can just pump them out, especially with the Yorishido in there. Like that's going to be flooding the earth. Right now, only one in queue. Okay, a couple more in queue. There we go. It's just going to start flooding. And then once these things get en masse, they will be scary. If my only question to that, though, is going into Chinese, if Numudan decides to make Nest of Bees, you're going to be in for a world of hurt. That's like my only fear here is that, and a couple of Nest of Bees would take care of a bunch of Yumi Yashigaru, but we'll see how Baltune plays it. As it is right now, he's got a half dozen Yumi on the field and looks like a monk, or sorry, excuse me, a priest running back with his relic. He probably needs to drop that one, or he can die trying.
It will bring it back to the base as close as he can, but it does go down, and another colleague will have to pick that up later. But the astronomical clock tower is also coming on out, and this is pretty wild. This is why I mentioned the fact that we could get Onimusha here out of Baltune. Both of these players, they don't always go for the most standard thing, and Numudan is showing us exactly that. I don't remember the last pro game that people have aged up with the astronomical clock tower as China for their first landmark into Castle. This is absolutely great for him because he's going to be able to make those Nest of Bees that he needs to deal with the Yumi mass that Baltune is attempting here. But
that's exactly
now,
what that is. You know.
Yeah, he's prepared for it. He knows that there's no threat of the mounted samurai, so him going for this makes a lot of sense. He just wants to play it safe and be able to respond what Japan has on offer.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised. It's surprising to see the clock tower, but I'm not surprised in this situation for exactly the reasons you said. With the Yumi, knowing that that's what Baltune is going for. Now, I say that there's only 9 of them right now, though, so Baltune could switch. There's no guarantee he stays on this. Maybe he's just trying to get the bait out of that. Maybe he's playing a really long con here and is planning to swap into the mounted samurai. As it is, though, there's still 10 spears and 2 in the way for Numudan. He does have some crossbows coming out as well. So Yumi Yashigaru do play well into that. With the Nest of Bees behind it, though, that composition for Numudan will become very effective against what Japanese can do. But as it is right now, only a handful still of Yumi Yashigaru. We see a second town center is instead the play from Baltune as Japanese. Going to pop that right in between the wood and the edge of the map there, next to the farms and the stone. And he's going to go to try and scale some eco behind this.
Now, the first Nest of Bees in queues tells me that Baltune believes this is a Yumi play. He's seen all the Yumis inspired by their leader as well. But Baltune hasn't had the opportunity to have that much food, so spamming any type of unit has been pretty difficult here. Now, with that second TC, he's finding a way to respond to China's Song Dynasty. But this does slow him down a little bit in that military department. At the same time, you want to ask yourself, is this something that's going to be necessary? Does he plan to play this out into the late game? And that might be the instance here. So with China being in the Song Dynasty, they're getting villagers faster and faster. And this is just not something Japan on their 1 TC is going to be able to handle. But now we've got a few mounted samurais who will be joining this party. And I'm a little bit worried for Numudan's ability to defend this. He says he's not. He's just making walls.
Yeah, he's got a pretty good mass to deal with mounted samurais. He's got spears, he's got crossbows, and he's got the Nest of Bees to deal with the Yumi. I feel like Numudan's got an okay composition here. The tricky thing is, can he match what Baltune is doing behind this? Because Baltune's base is just being untouched. It's unfettered. It's going to just go on and on and on and just outpace Numudan on 1 TC Song. So I'm curious how Numudan responds. He's just again, those walls, especially the ones on the west side, they popped up quite early. He invested in those from the get-go, maybe expecting a little more pressure from the Japanese, not getting it, but now they're there, so you might as well, finish the job. But now Baltune just slowly extending his base, moving out towards that big 8k gold towards the middle. And yeah, Numudan with his military just sitting in his base.
Yeah, this starts to feel one of those games where we make memes about, where we sit here for the next 3 hours watching these two battle it out on Dry Arabia behind walls, both of them playing it very safe. And this is something to be expected if you're doing a big match like this. Both of these guys are very evenly matched. Baltune being the one who has pulled off some crazy stunts recently, but Numudan, he respects Baltune. And the respect goes both ways. Both of these players not taking any major risks. Those mounted samurais, they're going to look for an opening, but finding a way into that base is going to be so difficult. PC making quick work there of a little samurai, a ground level samurai. And you have to ask yourself, not a single village going down. Is this just the showcasing of two people who are very, very careful not to misstep?
It's sometimes you see this in high level plays, especially in tight scenarios like this. You see guys playing, not that these guys aren't playing to win, but they're definitely playing not to lose here. We see, ill-fated raid there from Baltune. Those mounted samurai walked right into a death trap as the prickly porcupine of spears from Numudan was there to greet them with a very rude welcoming party. At this point, I started thinking Imperial Age here. Baltune, about halfway there. Numudan looks like he's about halfway there. These guys are just playing for the long game. 15 minutes in, very little interaction, just a couple of cat and mouse games, and these guys are planning to just go into Imperial and call it that.
And with this, it does feel like we are in a spot where Baltune is very strangely going for an Imperial. Like, the thing is about Imperial, you want to go for Imperial when you're sure you're not going to die. Now, he's probably sure. He's got a few units, but for some reason, looks like he's pretty confident about this. Numudan at the same time, he's also floating a lot of resources here. So I'm a little bit concerned for Baltune going Imperial here, and if he's actually going to sustain a proper push here from Numudan. Numudan now spending quite a bit of resources on some units, but let's see what Baltune goes for. You, of course, most likely want to go for, I was about to say for the gunsmith. You want to get something that gives you free units. Great. But now, what happens if your opponent pushes? Are you actually going to have the units to handle that? And him making more now, every bit of resource needs to go to units, because if he pushes, you are in for a lot of trouble.
Yeah, we're kind of looking at both these players kind of building up. Numudan being safe, making units first, then deciding to go Imperial. Baltune with the Tanegashima Gunsmith. That'll be great if he can survive another couple minutes, you know? But as it is, 50 units to 28. It's such a risk going Imperial Age this quick. Only 16 minutes in, barely 17 minutes. He's going to get that up at 17:20-ish. That's quick. That's a quick Imperial Age. Can he hold? That's the biggest question. Your 2TC Imp. I mean, PBD if it'll work or not. Numudan in a very nice situation to push forward. The problem for Numudan here, though, is he's got a lot of military units, but he doesn't have a lot of mass that can dive into a TC. He's got spears and crossbows as well as a nest of bees. So yeah, this is a big mass, but it's not the kind of mass you want to throw into someone's base because they're just going to fall to the archer fire. We're seeing here, these spears just get peppered down by the Yumi Ashigaru. So in a sense, if there was ever a time to take the risk, I think Baltune chose his time well.
And Numudan not fully committing to any units. He now sees my opponent is Imperial. I could do the same. I'm China. I love going Imperial. I've got my farming eco being set up behind this. And if we could take a second to look at the farms, that would be great. Just so we can see exactly what the situation is. Oh, Numudan, my boy, that is looking good.
Oh, we're in for a very long game. A very, very long game here. Both sides have quite a number of farms. And yeah, this is the scary thing with China. It can be hard for them to make that transition happen. But when it happens and it pays off, this is why they're so good in late game, is once they have that investment there, it just pays dividends forever.
And finding a way to raid it, it gets so hard once that Imperial Age hits as well. You see Baltune trying to look at those towers in a bit, but they are about to get reinforced. And sure, they are going to take a little while longer to go down. but this should give Numudan a time to respond. He doesn't want to respond, though. You can see the green dots not moving anywhere. He gets the Great Wall Gatehouse, and let's see where he gets it. Is it on a... No, where's our Great Wall Gatehouse? Probably on the farms. It has to be on the farms. You want to make sure your farming eco is safe. It's just... there we go.
There it is. There it is. There it is. Hidden
A
landmark.
little gold as well.
Oh,
Now-
I hope everyone's got some popcorn ready to go. Grab a soda, grab a drink, get some water. We're going to be in for probably a long time. If I had to look into my crystal ball and guess the future, this one's going to be back and forth for some time yet.
The thing is, Japan does have quite a few units that can handle the Great Wall Gatehouse. You also have very cheap ones, and you know they are quite fast, especially when you start investing into those Bugattis, as he does. The problem is just Numudan can very easily just keep extending that game, and you see him floating a lot of resources here. Now getting a few hand cannoneers in here too, and I'm honestly a little bit surprised into this composition. It feels like Numudan is saying, hey, let's sit back, relax, pop one out. Let's go and spend our day just watching this game play out. He's got taxes, he's got enough farms going, but he doesn't have that villager count that you would need to just constantly replace your army if the attacks do happen. So Baltune's going to ask himself, am I going to go and fight into this Great Wall Gatehouse, or am I going to find another way to get through him? And him getting 2 bombards already tells me he's got a plan.
I'm looking at 60 Onobugashas, and this seems to be a spin-to-win play here by Baltune. This is a scary mass, 90-48. The spin-to-win might just do it. This is just a moving blender. This is a marching blender, and it is walking straight into Numudan's base. I don't know if he's got an answer for this. He needs to get those Nest of Bees on that ASAP. Look at this. This reminds me of SpongeBob, like the nematodes that just eat all the houses. That's kind of the vibe I'm getting from this. They're just destroying everything. They just consume everything. And look at that.
And you can see Baltune with his 2 little bombards. They're just gonna try to do the work they can. Ooh, the Bugatti's getting there on the villagers at the back, and Numudan does not have the numbers to handle this, but he's going straight for the TC. He's learned from the previous game. He's like, we are not gonna do this landmark victory thing properly again. I will show you how it's done. And Baltune, now he needs to find a way to respect this a little better than last game. Those Nest of Bees, they're getting closed on. Oh god, Sokoton, he's doing it.
This was a great play from Baltune. I thought this would sit for a while, but the Onobugashas switch. However, they're all trapped in the middle here. Nest of Bees have a really easy shot. As long as they can stay out of the way of those spinning death blades, they can get some good hits in, and this is quite the dive from Baltune. However, he has a lot of units in the queue. Still has 34 more Onobugasha coming in. He is just flooding them in. All of them die here. Nest of Bees survive and continue to push this back. But still, there's still 60.
Look at the farms. The farms are under siege. The Bugattis have cleaned up 25 dead villagers. Sokoton, this was the silent attack while we were looking at the front lines. Baltune was already in the back, cleaning up anything and everything who dared dream of living. And it feels like an ode to the previous game. Baltune is the one going for the landmarks, slowly but surely.
Onobugasha mass. I mean, I was saying at the beginning of this game, oh yeah, maybe like a Zerg rush with the Yumi Ashigaru. Well, how about an Imperial Zerg rush with with Onobugasha? 80 of these things with 18 more. Baltune has found his unit, and he is just gonna shift spam that button until he runs out of resources, and he's not gonna run out anytime soon. Onobugasha flooding into the base. The Beyblades are being let ripped as they just dive in, trying to find the siege. I see a Nest of Bees getting popped. They're going for the back line, trying as much as they can to get there. Units just getting shredded down to bits. These things just ripping through.
And it's so cheap for him to keep replacing these. You can see the problem is the eco from Numudan is the one that's getting idle. And all of a sudden, Numudan realizes, oh yes, this is why we banned Japan. So I'm actually really happy to see that Baltune showed us why the civilization has been banned out so many times. That was disgusting.
That was just something on a whole nother level. I mean, I thought this was going to go on for a long time. These players were looking like they were going to go Imperial. This game only lasted 23 minutes.
Oh no, Baltune knew he's got the lead, he's got a timing, and he was going to capitalize on that. Just Numudan going for that Imperial age it just caused him to spend so many resources not on units, and Baltune knew, hey, this is maybe my window to do so. Being on 2TC for a little bit longer, just ensuring that he is ready for it. And guys, I just want to point out, in this draft, English didn't get drafted. So maybe these guys know something the others didn't know about, but JD did. And I love the fact that JD also got sniped. Now, JD has shown her ugly head on Frisian marshes. And I say ugly because she is disgusting on Frisian marshes. It's because of the constant pressure you put on out. We've seen what French can do. The Red Palace in Imperial Age for both JD and French on this map is something nobody can handle. But getting Zhu Shi out here too, this feels like something I'm not prepared for. I am so excited to see what Zhu Shi can do on this map against the Delhi. Because Delhi, a civ that does pretty well at raiding, they are not that great against necessarily on water, as we know. They do pretty well on this map, specifically because they do have fishing boats that attack. But Zhu Shi doesn't really care about that. They don't open barracks. They're going to go for a pretty straight-up feudal play.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's kind of fun to me to see Numudan saying, hey, for Frisian Marshes, I want elephants. Tugalok and Delhi. He wanted elephants this one. That was one thing for sure. We dive right on in, though. Back-to-back games. We are here in game number 4. It's 2-1. Another competitive series on our hands, Whammon. This has been a lot of fun. Numudan will be Delhi in the yellow. He's going to be in the western corner right here. And in the south corner, red in the red, Baltune with Zhu Shi's Legacies. Baltune, of course, with 2. We got the numbers fixed right there. Numudan with 1 win, hoping to tie it up if he can. On Frisian Marshes, looks like we've already got some people on the dock out there. On both lakes, so both players opting to get onto the water quickly.
That makes a lot of sense. You're playing a match against a civilization that doesn't do any Dark Age shenanigans usually. So for these guys, this is just going to beg the question of how greedy do I want to get on wood before I need to think about going to feudal. So we'll see how many docks these boys decide to make, but only one? That actually sounds pretty conservative coming from these two. So Zhu Shi is definitely a civ you cannot mess with too much, because Zhu Shi can just stay on this. They've got an Imperial official. They can just age up with the taxes. He can keep going on the wood, and he's not going to need to touch gold to get to feudal. So this is where Zhu Shi really shines at just being a greedy goose.
Well, that's one thing that that these players can do. I mean, I think of like Zhu Shi can be greedy. That's a thing. I'm curious how fast and aggressive Baltune wants to get. I mean, we talk. They could get greedy on this map, but how aggressive is Baltune going to be with Zhu Shi here? Do you think? I mean, with the normally we see them go for pro scouts, but with the water already in hand, I wonder if Baltune decides to let that propel him to more of an aggressive approach, or if he sits back and kind of just lets the eco propel him faster into castle still. We'll see. We'll see. But as it is, both players on the docks. Looks like a second one now for Numudan. So moving out on both sides too. So both players opting to play the water game. Sometimes we see how the game presents itself. And both players opting to do very similar builds thus far. So the question then is, how do these players deviate? And we see Baltune sees it. So again, the most important thing you can have in this game is information. And Baltune knows exactly what his opponent's doing.
And getting this information at the stage of game allows you to know how greedy do I get to be. So Baltune now, he sees that second dock, he knows, hey, you go for a second, I can easily go for a third one as well. So I'm really excited to see, yes, I see that red dot moving towards the next pond as well. Third dock coming on in. Baltune, he's very happy with this. This is not a bad position to be in at all, because you know, I get to be greedy. I'm not the one who's going to need to invest on a mining camp. I just get to be hold up. Hold up, villager. We need to go put the dock down. Hey. He was just excited about the fish.
He just wanted to dance first about it.
Now the third dock coming down. This does mean that he needs to be careful, but you know, with Delhi, you go for the aggression because you can. There's not much that your opponent can do, and you're forcing your opponent to respond suboptimally. You don't want to fight against Zhu Shi with a lot of food. And that's definitely something that Numudan knows. So him just investing into more fishing boats and another dock as well, as I can now see a third dock there for Numudan being built too. This feels like Numudan is going to need a lot of food. Now, there have been a few crazy plays where some people go for a fast castle deli. I just don't know if Numudan is that kind of guy. It feels like he is more conservative about his plays than going fast castle deli when he knows he can do some damage with the units he's got.
Yeah, I mean, Delhi thrives in feudal age, so why wouldn't you press the advantage? I guess the question is, like, what would he be looking for in a castle, a fast castle with Delhi? I guess maybe you can go for a quick hone blades, maybe? I don't know that that's quick enough. I don't know you get enough out of it, but we'll see. Right now, as it is, Dome of the Faith, no surprises here, of course. And Meditation Gardens, where is that at, by the way? It looks like it's got some gold and some berries, looking like down there. Does it touch that stone as well? That might be a really good placement if it catches all of it. You know what? I think it's got all three. It's got the gold, the berries, and the stone. So it's getting a lot. That's going to be a really, really good Meditation Gardens.
And now the natural response to, or Delhi's natural answer to feudal age anything is Ghazi Raiders. So Baltune knows this, he knows what to expect, and goes for the instant barracks. He wants to make sure he responds to anything Delhi puts out. And when I say anything, I mean Ghazi Raiders. The Spearman making a lot of sense here. Numudan now, he is going to be ready with the food as we see yet another dock. So both of these guys being a little bit of a greedy goose over there, but I feel like the greediest one of them all is Numudan here. Not getting the stable just yet, but just getting more docks.
Yeah, that's an incredibly greedy. I mean, it's not every game you see both players going to every single dock. Numudan, though, yeah, I mean, he could be producing units right now. I'm a little worried, actually. Like, if Baltune starts pumping out stuff a little quicker, he could do some serious damage. You already see a couple spears out. I'm wondering, when will Numudan decide to start making units? He's getting economy upgrades as it is right now, getting double-sided broadaxe, getting the specialized pick, getting wheelbarrow. Where are the units at? It feels weird to have Delhi not produce any units within 7 minutes.
That's the issue here. I think Numudan is overestimating how deep Baltune is going to go invest on these ponds himself. But he's doing what we've all faced, and that's Juganu. So the thing about Zushi, Juganu, in enough numbers, they're going to deal with your Ghazi Raiders. And now you're going to have one at a time, only starting at after 7 minutes. This is a little bit late to actually contest the amount of Juganu that can come out of this civilization. Now, Baltune, he's got the fishing boats, he's got the wood, he's got them taxes. He's going to produce these constantly.
There are a few units I dislike more to play against than Zuganu, because it just feels like they just shred everything, especially when they get some numbers going. And this was what I was talking about. How aggressive is Baltune going to get? How many units is he going to pump out in Feudal Age? Because I was thinking in particular about those Juganus, like how many is he going to make? And already we're seeing the answer. He's got 7 and 2 more on the way, adding spears to go with it. And again, look, Ghazi Raider just shredded. He's almost just dead.
That Ghazi Raider,
healed, but...
yeah. He's gonna need to go back and get healed, but he's dead weight for quite a while, and you need those numbers right now.
Yeah, it feels pretty bad.
Now, with this Ghazi, he's going back to the base to ensure he doesn't lose this just yet, but the Juganu, they're getting their +1 attack, and the handful of spears in the mix is just gonna tell Numudan, hey, you're not gonna run on top of me. I'm not going to let you take out anything. And Baltune is sitting pretty comfortably doing so. Now we have to wonder, is Numudan's units, is he going to be able to capitalize on all of these fishing boats that he has invested into? Or is this gold cutoff going to be a little bit of a deal breaker here? As we can see, that all these units just surrounding that gold, he now is going to have access to only the wood. And for how long as well? Because Baltune, he's got the food eco set up. If he decides to stop investing, he can very quickly just click up, go to castle, and make this an almost impossible trade here for Numudan. But he's got the power, he's using it, he's moving out towards that north so that he can take care of a dock or two.
Yeah, for Delhi, I guess gold doesn't matter too terribly much. Obviously, you want to have a slight trickle coming in to continue making more scholars. That's kind of the big loss here. You know that Numudan would like to have some, and he doesn't have any sacred sites coming in either. So he is going to be lacking a little bit there. The nice thing is though, is as far as military presence, all he needs is wood and food. And that he has for now. So if he can maybe reclaim that gold and get some more scholars produced, he'll be in an okay spot. The tricky thing is 21 Juganus in Feudal Age. That starts looking really scary. And we are seeing archers in response from Numudan. He is trying to spend that wood as fast as he can. But man, there is just a lot of units coming on the field for Baltune. And they're aggressively stationed right next to that gold. I'm a little worried for Numudan here. He needs to take a really good fight.
Now, the problem about not having enough gold, like you said, is with the scholars. You are dealing with a civilization that is so good at just switching to castle, and then you're going to want to say, hey, I will do that eventually myself. That's not just about denying the gold for the castle, it's about not getting enough scholars so that your castle upgrades will never be able to kick in properly. Because Delhi, they do faster research with more scholars. If you don't have any scholars, your research is going to take years. So usually Delhi doesn't feel like an immediate threat the moment they hit castle, but more importantly, they don't feel like a threat if they don't have any scholars. So Numudan is spending everything he can onto these units, but he's got to keep in mind, Baltune has a kill switch at any moment he wants, and it looks like Baltune is thinking about that castle age I've been hinting at the whole time. Finally, seeing like, hey, the Jugunu numbers might not be able to handle this all that well forever. Let's go see what a castle age unit in the mix could do. He's got the stable set up. He's ready for this.
Yeah, at this point, though, if Baltune clicks up a castle, I'm thinking the mass. There's a lot of Ghazis now and more archers coming into play for Numudan. Suddenly, the calculus is starting to change a little bit. I think this is a tricky fight for Numudan, but looking a little bit better. And that's why we see Baltune kind of angling back, knowing he wants to castle up. The Montlu Academy now coming up. And there's, dare I say, a bit of a window for Numudan here. If he can find a good angle and a good fight, he does not want to dive into the base, into a choke point like we're seeing right there. All those Jugs nice and tucked away behind the barracks and other buildings. That would be disastrous. But at this point, Numudan can now afford to get back onto the gold. And we see he's got some in the bank now. He's now got options. And he's choosing, I think, wisely to go after the food. This is a smart choice. Knowing you can't get into the base, let's take out what we can. We've got a mass, let's use it.
Now the Jugunu upgrade is going to come in at the speed of light, +2 instantly clicked up. And, Palace Guards being selected, but he quickly cancels those bad boys, as he most likely just wants to change this into a Lancer composition coming on out. Now, the +2 is going to hit pretty hard, and we can see how quickly that research is being done. Numudan, though, at the same time, he uses this moment and he goes on gold. He only has 3 scholars, though. So even if he hits that castle age, it's going to be about getting the elephant out and not getting the upgrades as quickly as he can. Now, the villagers here are going to be forced off of gold. He does need to be careful. 4 villagers, or in his case, fishing boats went down, but the spearmen are in an awkward position here as well. Lance is not coming out quick enough, and the Ghazis are trying to get us around, and they do, but none of the villagers... Oh, one of the villagers going down for now.
This was an excellent time to dive, actually. Knowing that your opponent just moved across the stealth forest and is on your gold, hey, I can now dive in as well. And there's nothing to defend here. A couple Lancers now popping out, but lots of villagers going down. It's now 12 eco kills to 2. So Numudan dealing a pretty good punch to Baltune right as he entered Castle Age. And now Numudan in Castle Age himself. However, he himself has villagers left out in the open. And the Jugs are just going to start shredding through them as you can just count them down. 1, 2, 3. Falling in a row. That was 4 actually right there. Counter punches. These guys both dealing blows, kind of almost like a base trade of sorts, like a mini base trade, as they just deal so much damage to each other's villagers. Jugs now in the back of the base, just continuing to hunt down the poor vills, running for their lives. They do have wheelbarrows, so they move a little bit faster, but just enough range for those Jugs to do a lot of damage.
And the scholar numbers are looking even scarier now. Only 2 scholars total and completely forced off of gold. So this just means those upgrades are going to take forever. We see +2 range defense coming in. But when I say coming in, I mean crawling in like a little snail. That little yellow bar is not going anywhere. Textiles also coming in now, as those villagers have paid the price significant amounts of times. And Baltune, he's the one with the units that matter. We can see those Ghazi raiders melting at these Castle Age Jugunu, just absolutely obliterating everything. Villagers are now going to be the target as these lances are pouring into the base. And yes, you may have killed 12 villagers, Mr. Numudan, but there's a lot more of yours that are going to die with these guys in your base.
Man, those Jugnus just shredding through the Gazis, and that's why I say that they're such a frustrating unit to go against. You've got what on paper sounds like a great counter, horsemen counter archers, right? But the rate of speed, the DPS, and in that mass, you need a lot more horsemen than you think. And we saw why there. Baltune taking a great stab right back at Numudan. And now it's 12 to 10 eco kills, so that's actually pretty even. But you can't deny that militarily, it feels like Baltune is just in the driver's seat for now.
Baltune definitely has the unit composition here that is just a bit better than what Numudan can put out on offer. Numudan being denied off of gold completely just means he's not going to be able to get any shenanigans going to handle these units. Oh, the Ghazi Raiders, one by one, getting picked off, and the Lancers now going back onto the Archers because he knows there's just nothing they can do. These Archers do not have their veterancy yet. Only 1 scholar total being left on the field and 15 idle villagers. It is a tough spot to be in. Now more archers going down, and just means those feudal or those castle upgrades are just not going to hit as hard as they need to. The Jugunu even doing damage against these lancers, and Baltune is the one just making more lancers. He knows how valuable this is going to be.
This game feels like it's quickly been derailed. Whatever plan Numudan had, it is gone. Villagers are just running circles now. The idle time alone was going to kill him, and that will do it. Throws in the towel. Baltune takes the win in the series 3-1, and a convincing series and a convincing set, and a fun matchup between these two players. But we have our winner who's moving on to the next round.
Now, this feels like a pretty good spot for Baltune. Again, taking a pretty commanding victory over Numudan. And this gets us excited for his next games too, because we know Baltune was an absolute mess his last game. Last week, he was dominating. Is this going to be his week? So, it must be feeling pretty good to be the best Sweden out there.
Well, he definitely proved it today, at least. 3-1, pretty convincing fashion. Let's shout out Numudan for a good series as well, though. We'll have Baltune here to chat and interview in just a second. But Numudan putting up a good fight. He had that good win on Holy Island. That was a crazy game. But outside of that, it was all Baltune, just with some really good plays, really good strategies. The spin to win last game, and then this one, just Delhi doing what Delhi does best, and that's all to Zhu Shi. Because with Zhu Shi's, Baltune's Jugnus just shredded everything. All right, and now with us we have coming in, we've got Baltune here to say hello. Baltune, congratulations on a good series.
Thank you.
So you lost in the Holy Island game, but otherwise felt like you were really in control. How fun is it to use and just mass Onobugeisha as you did in that win?
Yeah, it's very nice. Especially when he's like holed up in a corner like that. It's very satisfying to kill all the siege and everything, because it's so effective against it.
Yeah, we actually missed when you got in the backfield and just started killing all the villagers in the farms. That was a lot of fun. So yeah, it was a really good game. This last game, what was your thoughts on going against Delhi there as he was going on all those water? You guys both went for the water ponds, but what was your mindset going into that game?
I thought if I could just keep him in Feudal, then I should be able to just win, because Shugano killed Gas is so easy. But then I decided maybe I can just go Castle, and then got a little bit scary, but yeah, I could manage.
All right, well, we won't keep you too terribly long, but any parting thoughts as you move forward? How do you think you'll move going on? How far do you think you can go in this one?
Not sure. I surprised myself, so we'll see.
Well, you did really good so far. We won't keep you too terribly long. We got a lot more to get to, but congratulations on a really good win. Impressive performance today, and we'll be cheering for you on moving forward.
Yeah, thank you. See ya.